What's good, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a special video for you, so stay tuned. Today we have a guest, and that is Mostafa. Say hi, Mo.
Hey, what's up, guys? Alex, thanks for
Hi.
having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. How you been doing?
I've been doing good. How's your quarantine?
It's going good.
Great.
So, Mo, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about if an NFL team during the offseason is a bust, success, or meh.
Alright, sounds good. So let's get started. Coming in at number 32, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Mo, would you like to start?
I would. That would be my pleasure. So, for a first-round draft pick was picking up Joe Burrow. Pretty good. Picking up a good quarterback. The return of A.J. Green, you never know. After a season-long injury, you never know if the player is going to be good. And picking up DJ Reader and Trey Waynes off free agency, pretty good. I'm going to put them under meh because, you need a lot more than that to go back to playoff contending.
Alright, I gotta disagree with you there. So we have some notable additions, which was cornerback Trey Waynes, cornerback Mackenzie Alexander, and defensive tackle DJ Reader. But they lost Andrew Billings, Tyler Eifert, and Nick Vigil. The Bengals' best move was applying the franchise tag to A.J. Green. Now that they have him back from injury, Joe Burrow will have a much better target. As well, the people they picked up were young and healthy, so that's good for them. And they improved the defense over the draft and offseason. So I think if Green's health and Wayne's productivity come through, it'll be a success for them. So a boom for me.
All right, Alex. Now coming in at number 31, it is the Washington Redskins. Alex, start us off.
All right, so they have taken in Kendall Fuller, Tom Davis Sr., Sean Davis, and Wes Schweitzer, but they've lost Case Keenum, Eric Flowers, Josh Norman, and Quinton Zabar. The Redskins are in a rebuilding season, as we all know, and have some interesting moves to the free agency. Fuller has returned to Washington after 2 years in Kansas City, and I think they'll have a bounce-back season with the Chargers' Sean Davis. Or not the Chargers, but just having Sean Davis now, much better for them. Most of the offseason was centered around finding basically every position, and I think it's a boom, but on the verge of a meh.
All right, Yep. I'm going to disagree with you on that there. I think it's a bust. They took Chase Young, second pick. That's probably the best player in the draft, yes. Picking up Kendall Fuller was also good. But as you said, they lost a lot of good players, that helped them kind of. And that's not enough. And there's other positions that need to be filled. Even though free agency, they achieved a lot of players, there's still other positions that can be filled with better players. So I think it's a bust this year.
All right. Coming in number 30, we have the Detroit Lions.
Okay. So I put a success. Achieving Jeff Okudah, replacing the lost Darius Slay. That was pretty good by them. And in the second round pick was DeAndre Swift. That fixes their running game because their running game wasn't exactly the best. We had an average running game. So I think those pickups were huge, and I think they'll do a lot better this season.
So we've seen that they've picked up Trufant, Colin Sr., Danny Shelton, and Daron Harmon, but they've lost Darius Slay, Graham Glasgow, Damian Harris, Devon Kennard. Slay, in my opinion, is one of the best corners in football, and while signing Trufant was a positive move for the Lions, they can hardly make up for the loss of the secondary member that they had last season. Shelton is coming off with an excellent season in New England, and they gave out a lot of not-so-good contracts. Lots of overspending on these players, and I don't think they're really worth the cost that they paid for them. Going into the draft, they definitely needed some defensive players, and I think we've seen that throughout the draft. And so it's going to make it a tough offseason for them and a tough regular season. So I'm going to say meh for them.
Okay. Respectable. Next, at number 29, we have the New York Giants.
So we've seen that they've picked up James Bradbury and Blake Martinez over free agency, but they've lost Marcus Golan, Antoine Bethana, Alec Ogletree, and Mike Remmers. The Giants have been in dire need of a set in the secondary and corners. So Bradbury gave up 6 touchdowns as a defender, and Martinez was a solid pickup because he's a sure tackler. And the Giants have a little bit of cap space left. And as things stand, this was a mediocre offseason, but that's just free agency. Going into the draft, lots of good offensive draft picks and things like that that will improve their O-line and give Saquon Barkley a whole bunch of more potential. So I'm going to say it's a boom for them this season.
Okay, so I put the Giants in success. You know, as you said, Blake Martinez and James Bradbury were great pickups for the defense. All those losses on defense, I don't think those players were consistent last year, and I think those were good getting rid of them. And achieving Xavier McKinney was really good for the secondary. He's probably the best safety in the NFL draft class. And achieving Andrew Thomas from the fourth pick, that's pretty good because our offensive line needed improvement. So that was pretty good. And then a whole new coaching staff because, let's be honest, last year was horrible coaching staff. You know, being with Jason Garrett, who has the best offensive playbook in the NFL, I think this year will be a great boom success.
All right, moving on to number 28, we have the Miami Dolphins.
You know, I'm going to put a success for this one, I know, but because getting Byron Jones from the Cowboys, he's a really solid cornerback. Tua, very expensive rookie, but I mean, he played really good in college. He should be great for them, and you know, a lot of people are getting hope back to Miami just because of Tua. So I think it's a success.
I think it's a success as well. They've picked up Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy, Shaq Lawson, Eric Flowers, Emmanuel Ugba, Jordan Howard, and center Ted Karras. One thing I've noticed from the Dolphins this season, though, is they haven't really lost anyone like other teams have. The Dolphins were aggressive by spending their money and picking up some of those free agents. I think Karras is a great buy for Miami, as well as Byron Jones. And finally, the Dolphins they did add to their pass rush, which was pretty good, but they may have overpaid on a few. Jordan Howard is a figure with an upgrade of a running back spot, and I think we'll see some success in the running behind the offensive line that they improved on this season. Tua is ultimately what they needed as a quarterback because if they wanted a productive season, they would have really needed a young and talented quarterback in the draft, and that's what they did. So a boom for me.
Agreed. And up next, we have the Chargers at number 28. Alex, start us off.
All right, so first off, that's number 27, I believe.
27.
28. So quarterback Chris Harris Jr. they've picked up, along with Linval Joseph, Brian Balaga, and Trai Turner. But they've lost Phillip Rivers, Russell Okung, Melvin Gordon. And so the Chargers were another team that struck out with signing Brady. Not very successful with that. But they did have a fantastic offseason as well. Harris had a down year in 2019, but I think we'll see a much better season from him this season. The only thing is, getting Joseph as the defensive is an underrated move, I think. And the former Pro Bowler had 3 sacks and got stuffed the middle of against the run. The only thing we see that was substantially surprise was trading away Melvin Gordon, but it was a smart move for them for re-signing Eckler and just letting Melvin Gordon leave. The Chargers also brought back Henry on the franchise tag, so I think it was a very successful offseason, a boom for me.
All right. I also put success. I think getting rid of Philip Rivers was a good call. Picking up Justin Herbert as a sixth pick. Justin Herbert played amazing in college. He should be playing pretty good in the NFL. Picking up Brian Bulaga, he's a great veteran. So some teams you need a balance between rookies and veterans, and I think they got that. And picking up Chris Harris, as you said, he had a bad season last year. I think he will be able to pick it up this year and play a lot better with the Chargers.
All right, coming in at number 26, we have the Carolina Panthers.
All right, so this is a major bust in my opinion. Although they did pick up Teddy Bridgewater, McCaffrey coming off a great season. They got new coach Matt Rule, but they lost just so many people. Losing Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Luke Kuechly, James Bradbury. That's just too many, and that's a lot of positions to fill of some great players. And so this might not be a great season for them. This is probably going to be one of their bad seasons. So this is why I think this is a major bust.
So for the Carolina Panthers, we've seen them pick up Teddy Bridgewater, Trey Boston, Russell Okung, and Robbie Anderson, but they've lost Cam Newton, Trey Turner, Mario Addison, Gerald McCoy, Greg Olsen, Vernon Butler, Eric Reed. They've lost a ton of their players, and everything for the Panthers basically suggests starting over. So I think we'll see a rebuilding season from them. But Carolina did hire a new the Baylor coach, Matt Rule, and the cut of veteran players like Greg Olsen and Eric Reed. But of course, the headlines will focus on Teddy Bridgewater. He was a great player for the Saints. I don't know if he'll be the same with the Panthers like he did with the Saints. He should benefit with having Christian McCaffrey though, and because he's kind of similar to Alvin Kamara like he had on the Saints. And all this was a decent offseason for the Panthers, but they had to hit the reset button. So I'm going to say it's a bust, but close to a meh.
Okay.
Not the worst from them.
Okay.
Coming in at number 25, we have the Arizona Cardinals. We've seen notable additions from DeAndre Hopkins, Devon Kennard, Jordan Phillips, and Devondre Campbell, but we've seen them lost David Johnson. The addition of Hopkins is a very, very good move, and it's like a gift to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray now has two veteran wide receivers, veteran Larry Fitzgerald, and arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, DeAndre Hopkins. Now that they have the wide receivers, they can definitely focus on upgrading their offensive line with their first-round pick, and that's exactly what they did, making their first 5 picks all offensive tackles or linebackers. Arizona also made an improvement to their defensive front by signing Kennard, Phillips, and Campbell. Ultimately, however, the trade with Hopkins makes the offseason a huge win. The loss of Johnson was all right, but after Keenan Drake moved last year, I think they were kind of expecting David Johnson to leave anyway. So even though they lost their running back, they still have a good replacement for him. So I'm going to say this is a boom offseason for them. Very good offseason. All
right. I put a meh for the Cardinals this year. Taking DeAndre Hopkins from the Texans for a 4th-round draft pick, that's just a great deal for the Cardinals. And Kyler Murray had a sloppy season last year as a rookie, but it's a rookie's mistake, So I think he'll have a better season this year, and Hopkins is going to be getting good passes. And as you said, David Johnson was lost, but he's getting really old, starting to regress, not playing as good as he was. And Kenyon Drake played amazing last year, so I think losing David Johnson wasn't as bad as everyone thinks. And the defense is average, other than Buda Baker and Chandler Jones. So I think actually they might have a good season, but as offseason goes, it was a meh.
All right, Coming in at
All
number
right.
24, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, so I put this one as a bust because they lost Calais Campbell, who was like their rock, for many years, and he was a big veteran for them. And achieving Joe Schobert, he's pretty good, but just losing to Calais Campbell, you don't know who's going to lead the team anymore. He was just a big leader, as Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and so it's just a major loss. So I think that's why it was a bust.
All right, so we've seen the Jaguars pick up Joe Schobert and Tyler Eifert and Rashawn Melvin, but we've definitely seen them lose Calais Campbell, which was a big sadness for Jacksonville. It has been a down off season for the Jaguars, and it's become clear that they kind of need a rebuilding season now, I think. They got a little lost last year with their quarterback situation, halfway through the year putting in Gardner Minshew. But after trading away Campbell and Foles and received not much good in return, realistically it's going to be a hard offseason for them because they need so much. So I'm going to say it's a bust for them, and it's only fitting if they pick up really good draft picks in the draft, but it was all right.
Absolutely. And coming in next, we have the Cleveland Browns. Alex, start us off.
So we've seen them take in Jack Conklin, Austin Hooper, Case Keenum, Kevin Johnson, Andrew Billings, and safety Andrew Sendejo. But they've lost Demarius Randall and Joe Schobert. Signing Conklin is far away from a bad move. It's such a good move for the Cleveland offense. But the former Tennessee Titans All-Pro. Hold on. We're just gonna cut this all out. What was I gonna say here? Conklin was a former All-Pro for the Tennessee Titans and should carve out even more holes for Nick Chubb and adding a lot of protection for Baker Mayfield. Giving Hooper $42 million was a little much, I think. Case Keenum is also a very good addition as a veteran who has starting experience for Denver. And if Baker Mayfield ever needs, some help and backup, I think he'll be a good backup quarterback for them. But Cleveland did not improve their offense very much. Their defense ranked 22nd in the NFLS season. The Browns did sign Kevin Johnson and Billings and Sendejo, but it's just hardly impact moves. Of course, that could change if the Browns sign Clowney, who they have had interest with, but I think it's a meh for them.
Okay, I also put a meh for the Browns. Signing Austin Hooper, arguably one of the best tight ends in the NFL from the Falcons. Drafting Jedrick Wills, probably the best offensive lineman in the draft class. And I say meh because Myles Garrett with his incident last year. He was a big player for the defensive line, and losing him, could make it worse. And with their coaching situation, I don't think it's going to be great for them. So that's why I put meh.
Yeah, I think the only really good thing coming out is that Baker Mayfield gets another target, and a reliable target that they know is good.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
At number 22, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So this is probably the biggest success for Buccaneers fans, at least, because they of course want to see Tom Brady and Gronk team up in Tampa. Drafting Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, he's going to help Tom Brady have more time to pass the ball. So that was pretty much the primary offseason for him. That's why it was a major success.
Yeah, absolutely. They lost Jameis Winston, but with the replacement of Tom Brady, it doesn't even matter anymore. They also lost Rashad Perryman, the wide receiver, and Carl Nissim. But the Brady signing was the best move in Buccaneers history, I think. The Bucks have arguably the best receiving team in the league with Mike
Absolutely.
Evans and Chris Godwin, and with those two beast wide receivers, along with Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady as their quarterback, it's just unstoppable force. They did not make the playoffs, but they may even be Super Bowl contenders this year. I don't know. So definitely a big boom for them, a very successful offseason. So that's all I got to say about the Bucks.
All right, and next we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Alex, start us off.
So we've seen them take in Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski, Marcus Mariota, Jason Witten, Jeff Heath, Carl Nassib, and Nelson Enkelor, and not very many losses for them. The Raiders still need a positive offseason in their first year in Las Vegas, and they signed a pair of linebackers that will make their quarterback situation much better. And the only thing that did not work for the Vegas Raiders was the Brady to Vegas. Brady did not go there. But with the pickup of Marcus Mariota and having their already existing pretty good quarterback, I think it's a boom for them.
Absolutely. I also put a success, with the pickup. Vontae's perfect. He's a pretty good linebacker. Marcus Mariota replacing Derek Carr. That's pretty good. Marcus Mariota played really good with the Titans a couple years ago. Although he missed out on last season with the replacement of Ryan Tannehill, I think he should go back to playing as good as he was when he was on the Titans. And picking up Henry Ruggs, the first receiver in the draft class that was picked. Henry Ruggs played amazing in college. He should be able to play perfectly with the Raiders with the new quarterback of Marcus Mariota, and moving to Vegas. Like a lot of fans are now becoming Raiders fans because how many people wanted a football team on Vegas, and now it's happening. So everyone's really excited for this new move, and it was a pretty successful offseason for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 20, we have the New York Jets.
I put this one as a meh. Picking up Rashad Perriman, he's a pretty good receiver. He's a good deep threat. Everyone's saying how this is going to be Sam Darnold's year. With no more Tom Brady on the Patriots, it should be a little bit easier for him. His division's probably the easiest in the NFL by now. So this should be his year. If not, Sam Darnold will never shine.
Yeah, so we've seen them pick up George Fant and Connor McGovern, but they've lost Robbie Anderson, Ryan Khalil, Brandon Shell, Calvin Beecham, and Trumian Johnson. The Fant signing was a little, I don't know about that one. The New York Jets gave him a ton of money, and I don't think he's really worth it. In fact, maybe, like you said, Sam Darnold will have a boost in his season, but I think it's going to be a bust for them. Not much getting out from the draft, from the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Draft wasn't very good for them this year. All right, and up next we have the Indianapolis Colts.
So we've seen them take in DeForest Buckner, Phillip Rivers, and Xavier Rhodes, but they've lost Jabal Sheard, Eric Ebron, and Devin Funchess. And these were some major offensive players, Eric Ebron and Devin. But they give Buckner a huge contract, and Rhodes is a Pro Bowler, so that should be good for them. They did pick up a lot of linemen and stuff like that, which they needed, and Rivers can give the Colts a more presence with Jacoby Brissett's, alright decency. The Indianapolis Colts will need to add some talent in their wide receiver, which is exactly what they went for, picking up Michael Pittman as their first pick. And those two moves right there could make the Colts a contender this year, I think. So it's a boom for them.
All right. According to ESPN, the Colts had one of the best off seasons this year, and I agree with them. Philip Rivers, he's a veteran quarterback, didn't play really good for the Chargers, but he has the potential to be better than Brissett, because Brissett first season wasn't exactly the greatest season, and that's not what the Colts deserve. Picking up DeForest Buckner, arguably one of the best defensive tackles in the league, he's a beast, and picking up Michael Pittman, as you said, a receiver, him and T.Y. Hilton will team up really good, and Jonathan Taylor, second-round pick, beast running back, teaming up with Marlon Mack. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great offense for sure. And the only problem for the Colts is not much to show in the secondary, but everything else perfect.
Yep. Coming in at number 18, we have the Denver Broncos.
So picking up Melvin Gordon from the Chargers with Philip Lindsay, that's just an amazing running back core. They're both really talented. You know, the loss of Chris Harris is devastating for the defense. He was a very big leader in the defense. Now Von Miller might have to step up even more than Chris Harris did. You know, first round pick was a bust. They didn't really pick up anyone good. And picking up Jarrell Casey from the Titans, a really good veteran defensive tackle. So I think it was kind of a bust though, because they lost players, they gained players, but they didn't really need Melvin Gordon. So the players they gained were not substantial for what they need this year.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there with the pickup of Melvin Gordon and Nick Vannett, but they lost Chris Harris Jr. and Derek Wolfe, which were major parts of their defense. I agree with you. Melvin Gordon was not very necessary for their team, with Patrick Lindsay in that position doing all right. And we've seen that they haven't picked up a quarterback yet, which is surprising. You know, going through like 10 quarterbacks in the past 4 years. So yeah, definitely a bust for them.
Yeah, that's crazy, because that's why I put the first round draft pick was a bust. You know, they didn't pick up a quarterback first round pick, which was really surprising. Yeah. All right.
At
up
number
next,
17, we have the Atlanta Falcons. We've seen them picked up Dante Fowler and Hayden Hurst and Todd Gurley, but they've lost Devontae Freeman and Vic Beasley and Austin Hooper. The Atlanta Falcons are in a tough spot right now with a tight cap. Gurley, I think, is actually going to be an upgrade over Freeman. In addition, Fowler is more questionable because of his contract. And AJ Terrell was what they needed, honestly. But the Falcons failed to address their biggest need, and that was more linebackers. So, meh. But yeah, meh for me because of the Todd Gurley situation. They make it come out of a bust.
You know, I think it was actually a success. You know, the loss of Hooper was a kind of a disaster, but you know, Todd Gurley coming off a pretty bad season. You know, every player usually has a bad season, so you know he can easily pick it up. And I agree with you when he says he could be an upgrade from Devontae Freeman. Dante Fowler, he was amazing for the Rams. He should be able to play amazing for the Falcons. AJ Terrell, I think he was a solid pick coming out of Clemson. You know, I think it was a success. Even when you're talking about linebackers, you know, they have one good linebacker, but I agree they can use a couple more. You know, Deion Jones, pretty good, but they can use a little bit more. But I still think it was a success overall from offseason. You know, you can't have everything during an offseason.
Yeah. All right, coming up at number 16, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. So I actually put it as a success. You know, gaining Eric Ebron and Bud Dupree, those are great pickups. They've played really good in the NFL, very consistent players. You know, reuniting the Watts, not necessarily good for the team, maybe. I mean, a fullback is not the most useful thing, but, you know, a good family chemistry there here and there is not bad. And Chase Claypool, a huge man. It's as if he's a tight end, but he's a great receiver coming out of Notre Dame. So overall, success. And Ben Roethlisberger coming back from injury, so no more third string or second string quarterbacks. It's just first string quarterback. So overall, a success.
Yeah, we've seen them pick up Derek Watt along with Eric Ebron and Chris Wormley, and with Bud Dupree having him re-sign his contract, which was a major success with him playing so well for the Steelers last season. but they've lost Artie Burns and a lot of their three of their defensive players. They had an alright defense last year, but they need to make some minor tweaks to the offense. With a lot of their pickups in the defensive side, that'll make their defense even better. I think potentially one of the best defenses in the NFL this season because of Mika Fitzpatrick and Devin Bush. Ebron's snap count was very good. He had lots of targets, and with him and Chase Claypool, two huge targets, I think Ben Roethlisberger is in a good place, especially coming back from injury. I think it's success for them.
All right, and coming in next, we have the Dallas Cowboys.
So we've seen them take in Gerald McCoy, HaHa Clinton Dixon, and Alvin Smith, but they've lost Randall Cobb and Byron Jones. But Randall Cobb is the most significant. It's not really what they wanted, but not much I can say from them other than having Dak Prescott on the franchise tag and re-signing Amari Cooper. So I'm going to say it's a meh for them because of where their picks were and their offseason.
I was really close to saying meh. Picking up Andy Dalton, I don't get that trade. I don't get that at all. Losing Jason Garrett was a huge loss. Their offense was perfect with him. He has the best offensive playbook in the NFL. They picked up HaHa Clinton Dix and Gerald McCoy and CeeDee Lamb. He could be a great replacement for Randall Cobb. So I don't think the Randall Cobb trade wasn't very controversial. Trevon Diggs in the second round, another solid cornerback added to the defense who could potentially replace Byron Jones. So overall, pretty much success, but I can see why people would say meh.
All right, coming up at number 14 is the Chicago Bears.
So I put this one as a bust. Picking up Nick Foles, replacing him with Trubisky, not much different in talent. They're both pretty average quarterbacks. Although Nick Foles, you can argue he was a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but nothing happened after that. He kind of just went back to being an average quarterback. They picked up veteran tight end Jimmy Graham. He is getting old, but he's a veteran. You can always use a veteran on the team, like I said. And the draft wasn't great. They had no number one draft first round draft pick, and their second round pick was kind of late, and it was not the best player they could have taken. So it was a major bust for them.
I'm gonna say a bust for them. Picking up Nick Foles and Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is gonna be 34 soon, and very old as an NFL player. They're thinking of putting Foles in Mitchell Trubisky's spot. I don't know about that. Nick Foles may be a slight better than Mitchell Trubisky, but with him and their defense, I think the offseason is a meh. But will that mean they'll have a bad season? Definitely not. Their defense is carrying their team all the way. And I think they'll have a good season. It's just the off-season is a meh for them.
Okay. Yep. Coming up next, we have the Tennessee Titans.
So we've seen them pick up Vic Beasley, but they've lost Marcus Mariota and Delaney Walker, and a few others. The Titans definitely dedicated their offseason to locking up Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. They're both playing really good last year. And other than that, not much changing for them. I'm going to say it's a meh offseason for them. Because other than them trading away players and just keeping Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill with them,
I just said not too many signings this year, but I said it was a bust. Although they have confidence from last year, a 9-7 team went to the AFC Championship. You got to be confident next year. But losing Jarrell Casey, Delaney Walker, Marcus Mariota, those were like the three biggest players a couple years ago in the Titans, and that could have a big impact on who's going to be the next captain, who's going to be the nenext role model, who's going to be the next leader. So, I think it was a bust. They didn't sign too many players, but lost a lot of key players, so it was pretty much a bust.
Yep. Coming in at number 12, we have the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think it was a success. They signed Darius Slay, like you said, arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Jalen Mills, a great cornerback out of the draft. That's a great cornerback duo for the Eagles. Great secondary they have now. The surprise pick of Jalen Hurts surprised everyone. Now there's controversy on who's going to start between him or Carson Wentz. So they picked up pretty good players. Although the Jalen Hurts pickup was a little bit unnecessary, the other pickups were really good for their team, and so that's why I think it was a success.
Yeah, definitely them picking up Darius Slay and Devon Hargrave, but they've lost a whole bunch of people like Jordan Howard and Malcolm Jenkins and some of those. But by trading for Slay and signing Hargrave, the Eagles definitely improved their defense. They're still on the wide receiver market, but I think they'll have hopes for the 2020 season. So, yeah, success, a boom for me.
All right, yep. Up next, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Alex, start us off.
So, we've seen them pick up Leonard Floyd and Ashawn Robinson, but they've lost Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks and Dante Fowler and Eric Wendell and Clay Matthews. It's a bust for them, losing so many good players and not much to replace them for. The only thing they really changed was their contract fees, paying a whole bunch for Gurley and Cooks. Now they have more money to do that. But while the Rams still have talent on both sides of the ball, it's a very shaky offseason. And so I'm going to say it's a bust.
I also put bust. I started off by saying new but ugly logo. That's just how you start a bad offseason. Not many moves in free agency. As you said, they lost more players than they signed. Todd Gurley, Dante Fowler, very expensive players, but also at the same time, very good players. So we'll see how they manage this season. They might have like an average season, but overall in the offseason, it was a bust.
Yeah. Coming in at number 10, we have the Minnesota Vikings.
This is a very big bust, one of the biggest ones on my list for sure. Losing Stephon Diggs and Everson Griffin. Stephon Diggs, great wide receiver. I don't know why they got rid of him for just one draft pick. Everson Griffin, very good defensive player for them. They got rid of him. He was a key player. He made a lot of big plays last season, And picking up Justin Jefferson, that was their only really good move in the draft and in free agency in general. So it was a major bust for them. They lost a lot.
Yeah, definitely a bust, losing Stephon Diggs and Everson Griffin and all of those good key players for them. But nothing really for them, so totally a bust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not much to say.
Up next, we have the Houston Texans.
So we've seen them take in David Johnson, Brandon Cooks, and Randall Cobb, but they've traded away Jonathan Joseph, DJ Reader, DeAndre Hopkins. Where do I even start with the Texans?
Yeah, absolutely.
Unexpectedly, one of the worst trades in NFL history. I don't know what their coaching staff was thinking, but definitely a bust. David Johnson, really not the best best running back out there. So not much gained, but a ton lost. Definitely
yeah, absolutely. I think, in my opinion, this is the worst trade of NFL history. DeAndre Hopkins traded for 1 4th-round draft pick. I mean, you can't get Hopkins out of a 4th-round draft pick. That's very hard to do. And the fact that they're trying to replace DeAndre Hopkins with Randall Cobb or Brandon Cooks, that's just, I don't know what they're thinking. So, major bust for them.
Yeah. All right, coming in at number 8, we have the Buffalo Bills.
All right, so coming off a very surprising season, they did good with a 12-4 season. Stephon Diggs was a huge pickup for them. That's gonna give them a huge target to Josh Allen, who's already a fabulous quarterback. So that alone, in my opinion, makes a success. Coming off a great season, picking up a star wide receiver, that's just a success on its own.
Absolutely. I think it's a boom for them. Picking up Stephon Diggs, Mario Addison, Vernon Butler, Quinton Jefferson, and Josh Norman. them losing Shaq Lawson, Lorenzo Alexander, Kevin Johnson, Jordan Phillips. The Buffalo Bills paid a hefty price to acquire Diggs, but I think it's worth it. They paid more than what the Cardinals paid for DeAndre Hopkins, but still, a very good wide receiver for Josh Allen to throw to. Between Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley, the Bills have one of the best receiving corps in the AFC East and arguably one of the best in the NFL. While the New England Patriots lost Tom Brady, they could very well be the top team in the AFC East, and they deserve a winning grade. A boom for them.
Absolutely, yes. And up next, we have the Seattle Seahawks.
So we've seen them take in Greg Olsen, Bruce Irvin, BJ Finney, and Brandon Shell. But they've lost George Fant and a lot of their offensive tackles and defensive linemen. The Seahawks hardly did much to improve their offensive line, which was 27th last year. That's definitely something they need to improve on. And the Seahawks were still hoping to re-sign Jadeveon Clowney, but not looking good for them. I think it may come back to bite them. And the Seahawks spanking in Greg Olsen, it will give them Russell Wilson a good target, but other than that, I think it's a meh for me. Seattle did much better in terms with the defensive additions, but not much big going on for Seattle.
I also said a meh. I don't think the offensive line was the biggest loss because Russell Wilson's my favorite quarterback in the NFL, and somehow he always finds a way to get the ball off no matter what the offensive line is looking like. Adding in Greg Olsen, Bruce Irvin, both played really well last season for the Panthers. So I think they'll do really good for the Seahawks. Drafting Jordan Brooks he's a solid linebacker coming off college. As a rookie, that will. Along him with Bobby Wagner should be really good. So it was a meh season, but not much other than that. So it wasn't the best off season, but it was not bad.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Next up, we have the New England Patriots.
This is probably, in my opinion, I put this as the biggest bust in the whole list. Placing Tom Brady, a six-time Super Bowl winner, with Brian Hoyer, who barely picked up a football so far. I don't know about this. They might have a really bad season just because of their quarterback situation, and they had a horrible draft. No star pickups during the whole draft, like in college. So I don't know. This is probably the biggest bust, maybe even in NFL history.
Absolutely. I don't care who the Patriots pick up, but nobody will replace the talent of Tom Brady. Absolutely. Truly a bust for them. They've just lost so much and not much more to gain for it. Terrible picks in the draft and in the offseason. And they're just – Bill Belichick is in some deep, deep trouble.
Absolutely. The whole Patriots organization is in huge trouble. All right, up next we have the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I have not much to say for them this season. Mm-hmm. Nobody really getting traded away, nobody really being picked up. All they're doing is just trying to keep the gang together. Obviously, they've seen that their team is good enough to win the Super Bowl. So if we can keep that team together, that's good enough for us. A boon for me.
I put meh. I put pretty much the same thing as you. Barely any free agency picks. They got an okay LSU running back in the second round, but barely any picks. But I think this is because they were so confident that they won the Super Bowl. They want to keep the roster as same as possible. But with the loss of Kendall Fuller, that was a big part of their cornerback and their secondary. So it was a meh. Super Bowl confidence isn't always a bad thing. So that's why I put meh.
Yeah. All right. Coming in at number 4, we have the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. I think this was another meh because losing Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah, he's getting old, but he still played really good last season. Replacing him with Travis Benjamin. Sorry. But other than that, not really many moves. They're coming off a surprise season. Before last season, they were the second worst team in the NFL. I think it's amazing how they came back last season, picking up Javon Kinlaw in the mid first round. He's a great defensive tackle. He could be a good replacement for DeForest Buckner. So overall, a pretty average offseason. Not the best, not the worst.
Yeah. Not much leaving the 49ers. The 49ers will likely be able to grab one of the top receivers in the draft. But other than that, not much changing. They have a winning formula because they went to the Super Bowl. But other than that, not much changing. I'm going to say it's a boom just because they're a good team and they don't really need much, but not much being picked up.
Okay. Up next, we have the New Orleans Saints.
All right, so with the New Orleans Saints, we've seen them pick up Malcolm Jenkins and Emmanuel Sanders, but loss of Eli Apple and A.J. Klein and Von Bell, whereas they don't really need much. Alvin Kamara is doing well, Drew Brees is doing well, and Michael Thomas is doing well. They're just kind of slightly improving their team, and very well, this team could be on the pursuit of a Super Bowl. A boom for me.
Yeah, I also put success. Not many changes, but I call this one. They're just adding veterans. Really, they're Emmanuel Sanders, great veteran wide receiver. Malcolm Jenkins, great veteran for the secondary. Re-signing Drew Brees was amazing. No matter what his age is, every year in his career he's played amazing. So he's probably one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. But picking up Jameis Winston, I don't know. Maybe they're thinking about him being the next quarterback after maybe Drew Brees retires this season. I don't know. They have plans for him. We'll see after next season what happens with him.
Yeah. Coming in at number 2, we have the Green Bay Packers.
All right. My first one, I just put Jordan Love ? I don't know what they're thinking of picking up Jordan Love. I don't know if they're thinking of trading away to Aaron Rodgers or if they're thinking he might retire soon. But everyone has a lot of questions of why they picked up Jordan Love in the second round. Great quarterback out of Utah State, but we just don't know why. But other than that, not many free agency pickups. With the loss of Brian Bulaga, it's going to be up to David Bakhtiari to step up.
Yeah, that Love situation is, if you look at the news of the NFL, causing Aaron Rodgers to maybe think about retiring or getting traded away from the Packers. I don't know about that move, and not much being changed, so I'm going to say a meh for them.
All right, yeah. I put meh as well. I don't think I said that. All right, up next, and the final one, the number 1 team, record-wise, during the regular season was the Baltimore Ravens. Alex, start us off.
So we've seen them pick up Calais Campbell and Derek Wolfe. I don't know how much better this team could be, stacking up 2 greats in their defensive unit. But both being defensive ends, I don't know about that. The Ravens, good team. The only thing Baltimore really needed was wide receivers, and that's what they did. Second round, they pick up Devin Gervais out of Texas, either the second or third round. And in all, the Ravens had a good offseason, picking up J.K. Dobbins, and not much needing to be changed. So definitely a boom for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I put success as well. Calais Campbell, absolutely a great veteran. Derek Wolfe, a great player. They already have Lamar, who had a great season. I don't expect Lamar to do any worse than he did worse than, he's not going to do that. So, and they're coming off just a great year, a 14-2 season. That's amazing. And they had a great draft considering they had one of the last picks each round. Patrick Queen, great player coming out of 31st pick, and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins in the second round. That's just another great pick,
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video of all 32 teams and our opinion on their offseason. Don't forget about Mostafa. He'll be in a ton of more videos to come. Thank you, Mostafa, for that.
Absolutely. Whenever you need me, I'm here.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed. Make sure to tune in to our next video. I don't know. Sorry for this long video. This may be 2 parts. I don't know. But thanks for watching.
And please make sure to go subscribe to his channel. He makes awesome videos.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.